So we have Carl Tillström here. He is a developer and the founder of competitivecoders.com, which is a community where you can find coding competitions, and it automatically links it with other contents regarding solutions and problems, and you can brag about them or nag about them being difficult, and so he's used a lot of machine learning algorithms to do this, and he's actually going to do some interactive coding here today. So give a round of applause for Carl.
Exciting. Thank you. So let's use this Wheel of Fortune to do our jobs, right? Let's see where I am. Yeah. Thank you. So, sorry. I think we should start somewhere around 1995. We got this new thing called the internet, and we all wanted to participate. And what do you do then? You build a web page, right? And it was easy back then. You just went to the library, you borrowed the book HTML for Dummies or something, right? And it contained everything there was to know about building a web page. Life was easy. It was before JavaScript or CSS and all that shiny stuff. So that's what I did. We did, however, have the blink tag and the marquee, remember? The pinnacle of web design. I miss those. Anyway, fast forward some 20 years or so, and I've been paid unfairly good for building web, and I took a job where I focused more on backend stuff and cloud and infrastructure and all that jazz, you know. And I left the front-end world around the time when Knockout.js was the hottest framework ever. You don't want to be that jQuery developer, right? Yeah. Has anyone used that? How many of you don't know what jQuery is? The world evolves, right? I still use it. It's awesome for what it's good at. Anyway, I went to the clouds for some years, and then I come back and I find myself in a situation, you know, where I have to build this Facebook for competitive programming, right? As you do when you turn 40. And I have to figure out what has happened in the front-end world since Knockout.js. They kept busy. Yeah, and anyway, to cut to the chase, I built this thingy. So this is the MVP of the Facebook for competitive programming. We don't need to talk much about this today. What you need to know is the context. So this is the page, and it's an MVP, so it misses some tiny detail. And that's user profiles. Apparently that was needed. So that's what we're going to do today, or that's what we're going to have ChatGPT do for us, because writing code is so 2022, right? So I prepared a little here. Look, user profile menu. Excellent. It doesn't contain anything. And I'm a visual thinker, and I kind of need to make the front end for the user first to really know what I'm doing. I can spend hours and days and weeks on creating these lovely data models, the backend and infrastructure. No problem, but I always end up needing to rewrite them because I didn't understand the domain and the problem. And that's kind of the definition of waste, right? So I need to sketch the front end first and then work myself backwards. So that's what we're going to do. So for the next 15 minutes, we will create the front end with some user data, create a backend for it, serve the data, and hopefully get it into this puzzle that is the current site, right? So, were some of you who hadn't seen ChatGPT, this is the beautiful thing. And you give it prompts, right, like Matthias talked about, and has evolved a thing called prompt engineering, and there are books and courses about this. It's quite mad. But I've prepared some prompts because it's hard to think while you speak, right? And the fun thing today is that it gives different results every time. So we'll see where we will end up. Hopefully it will be fine. I have some extensions, like I have a ChatGPT extension in VS Code. I will not use that because I discovered that it doesn't really give us coherent answers for some reason. I don't know why. So I just going to copy this prompt here. And now you can see into the future. And put it here, and I'll explain it while it does its magic. So this is the annoying part of working with ChatGPT as a tool. I think it does this because of rate limiting. This is a fancy way of rate limiting. They got 1 million users in 5 days, so it's kind of high pressure on their servers. Now we can't give it another request until it's done. So that's the annoying part. Let's just go back to what we did here. So what I told is, as a senior front-end developer, write a beautiful user profile page for a competitive programmer using HTML and CSS in the same file. And there's always this going back and forth. Should it be in the same file or not? When I learned everything, it shouldn't, and then it shouldn't. And now I think we're back when we're doing components. Anyway, it's easier for us to see. So let's copy this code and see what it did. And here we go. Voila. So this is John Doe, apparently. He lives in USA. He has competitive programmer experience of 5 years and does C++, Python. It sounds plausible, right? Just as the text about German leaders, right? So it's plausible. In this case, it's usable. And now we just have to modify this and get it as we want. How many remember the CSS for this beautiful box shadow and rounded corners? Now we don't have to anymore, just tell it to generate it, because it's what it did. So now let's load this from a backend, right? Because we're totally happy with this beautiful design. After all, we told it to be beautiful. So let's write a backend. I don't know, what languages do you write backends in? TypeScript. Oh, that's nice. C#. Is anyone writing in Python? There is Python. Oh, great. It really doesn't matter because ChatGPT speaks it all, right? So for this example, when I want to do quick prototyping, Python is kind of easy go-to language. So let's go with that for today. And since I want to keep the chat history because it can refer back to itself, I'll do it in the same chat here. Go down here and voila. So what I told it to do, let's see what it does. Write a backend in Python with a REST API that serves example data for a competitive programmer together with an example profile picture from the internet. We already got that, but it's different every time, so I put it in there for safety. Fetch and display this data in the frontend page using vanilla JavaScript. You know, boomer code. So let's see what it does here. I don't know much about Python. I just mainly use it for competitive programming, and then the point is to write crap that you throw away. So I've never learned Python. Let's see what it did. It uses something called Flask. Wonderful. And it has some routes here, API/profile, and it returns something. Let's run it. And see. Profile API use. Sorry. What was API profile, right? And it seems to work. So now we have our backend. Lovely. And let's see what it did with the front end. Let's just copy this. No need to read it, right? It's apparently fine. Just look at it. And let's see. And now as you already know, we will run into course problem. Okay, we didn't just skip the front end part of it, the HTML part. That will not do. This is the fun part with ChatGPT Live. You get different things. Okay, so let's freestyle. Generate the HTML from before, but fetch the data, the backend REST API. Well, let's see what it does. Very exciting. Now we got some CSS and stuff again, so it's so far so good. It wasn't done, right? I wonder if it copied all the text, even though it hadn't written it out yet, because obviously it's already generated in the backend. Yeah, we can take a look here. Meanwhile, we're back in the Python. Like, I don't speak Python that well, so maybe you wonder what's this underscore name thing and yada yada. Well, let's ask ChatGPT. Explain. This is too small for you to read, I guess, but here's the plugin that just interfaces with ChatGPT. So this explains the code. Might be useful when you copy something from the internet. I don't know. We can also maybe this very, very difficult function. Maybe we need tests, of course. So here we got tests for it. So now we can focus on more on what tests are relevant and needed, and this writes the boilerplate for it. So just copy paste it and you got tests, or just copy it and you have 100% test coverage and just ship it. Yeah, ship it. You saw before, it's flawless. It's flawless, but it's useful. You don't need to write the boilerplate, right? And we can optimize this very difficult method, right? Optimize. And it optimizes it. I don't know what it's doing, but it obviously can't optimize that. But if it's a more complex, or yeah, make it more enterprisey. Yeah, and there we know. That's how you make it more enterprisey. And you can get a job at, I don't know, Volvo. You'll fit right in. Yeah, let's go back and see what it did with the front end. Hopefully we can use it. Now it stopped. This is also very, very annoying. It's like, I lived in France for a while, and this is like going to a cafe in Antibes or Nice, and the waiter just leaves in the middle of the order. So you have to tell it to continue. And then it usually messes up the formatting. But that's fine. Look, it's just... But it's still a lot of code that I didn't that I didn't have to write. So I'm happy. We just have to do this in parts. Okay, let's see what we got after this. We got this code. Hopefully it fits together. And we got this code. And it also explains it in the same manner as the German chancellors, right? I don't know, maybe it's good at explaining code. So now we have, let's look at this. It looks like HTML, it has some JavaScript code, yeah, and it has some data.languages.join. That sounds like it fetches data from something called profile, which was what it named a route in the backend, right? It remembers sometimes. So maybe this works, but to save some time, we will run into the course issue. You know, you can't just fetch data from another domain because that's bad. So either we can ask ChatGPT to add our usual header to allow anything, any origin, right, and just ship it to production as we do, or we can serve this from the same backend. Let's be a bit more professional and serve it from the backend. So, we need to do that before we look at the results. So, a cliffhanger here. So let's get this rolling. So I tell it to add a method to the Python backend to serve HTML file from disk with this exact path from the frontend. And it does this, I think. Let's see. So it remembers what it did before and can build on top of it. This wasn't exactly what I wanted, but since we're programmers, we can fix it. So I think this works. We need to add this. And we also need to add the path that it ignored. And maybe it works. Let's see. This is hot reloading in this. Nice. What was the route? /profile, /profile. Oh, voila. I think it worked. Let's see. Yeah, it fetches some JSON data and obviously displays it. Excellent. So we have a front end and a back end. And now let's assume we're happy with this beautiful design and we need to get it here. And when we fast forward today, a big problem when I started the Competitive Coders site is what frameworks and tooling should I use? You know, what was the current framework of the week? So nowadays I could ask ChatGPT, but I would not trust the answer. So I asked people who I know are good at writing maintainable front ends that works for years and for teams that work on. So I ended up with this combination of things. What they are not the most important part. And I'm just gonna copy this thingy. And this is what I think is the most valuable thing I do today. So now I'm happy with it. So I'm asking it to rewrite the front end in React using TypeScript and Material UI version 4, because that's what I wrote it in back then, and rewrite the Python backend into an Azure function using C# with the function name user profile, which is bad probably. And voila, we have the same sort of thing in React and TypeScript and Material UI. Because when I created the site, I Googled around the combination of frameworks and techniques and linters and prettiers and extensions and everything. And all the blogs on frontend have different choices of combinations. So you could never get the working example from anywhere that I wanted. It was really annoying. And here I just tell ChatGPT to use the exact technique I want and combination. Let's hope it works. Maybe I have to do the backend first, right? So this looks like an Azure function. And this is the code base for the Competitive Coders site. And I think I messed it up, right? Let's go back. No, this is the oldie. Yeah. Continue sounds right. Or we just do, please give me the Azure function again. So it doesn't stop in the middle of everything. We can copy the front-end code meanwhile. And here's the boilerplates. And it should not be named up. You can be a bit more stern with ChatGPT and tell it what to name things, but it would kind of take away a lot of the point, right? user profile, and we need to export it, I guess. And yeah, hopefully it works. It uses use effects and fetches something on user profile. Okay, let's keep that name. Yeah, and we just need a backend to see if it works. And it's hopefully generated this time. It looks like a complete code anyway. So it's the function name user profile that sets the route, and it's anonymous because everyone should be able to access. Information wants to be free and all that. We got some example data that seems plausible, and it returns it to JSON. That seems to work, right? Let's build that. And meanwhile, we got this going, and we just have to wait for that, and we can do some fun stuff meanwhile. So let's give me a regular expression that captures a URL from multi-line text. You have that in your head, right? Yeah, seems about right. That's what I was thinking to write. And yeah. Please explain the regular expression. And it remembers it's a chat. And it says what it does. Quite useful. Let's see if it's has built. Yeah. Now we're... No, that doesn't look good. Ah, it worked. Beautiful. Let's ship it. Yeah, all the things it might be good for is like, do you remember how to, the syntax for grouping things in SQL? Do you remember how to write, let's make an SQL query, right? Why not? This is bonus material. Yeah, so write a TSQL query that returns the top 5 competitive programs that have won most programming competitions in 2022 by joining multiple tables. The query should be in the 4th normal form, as you all use, right? Has anyone ever... Does anyone know about the 4th normal form of SQL? No, you don't need. That's what was taught in university when I went there 20 years ago. And voila, I wouldn't have come up with this in a second, right? This would take an hour at least to do. So this is fun. Let's also write some unit tests for it. Write unit tests for the function in XUnit using fluent validation, auto-fixture, and fake it easy, as you do. And it does. That's nice. Yeah. So we can do this all night. Let's not. If you have any questions, just talk to me later, or yeah, let's do that. There are also some, I brought some swags. There are pens and stickers and all that fun stuff. Just you can take with you home. It's on the tables here and there. And with that, I say thank you.